Hi, I'm Anne from Game Like a Mother. I specialize in games that can be played in 20 minutes or less, and today I am sharing my top 5 ladder climbing games. These are all card games that feel kind of like trick-taking games but aren't. In order to continue to be able to play, you have to be able to play something that beats what the other person has played out in the center, and that's what differentiates this type of game. It can range from very simple games that are basically elevated Uno to games that have a lot going on and are very strategic games that are for people who like much more intricate gameplay. I have the games listed in the description of the video if you want to skip to a particular one, so let's get started. First up, we have Don't Llama the card game, which is by acclaimed board game designer Reiner Knizia and has a delightful llama theme, and your goal is to get the least tokens as you play this game, and you get tokens at the end of the round for any of the points you have left in your hand. And this is essentially Uno plus, but it has some great push your luck elements and just the manner in which you play. The cards are the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then llama is the magical card / number that bridges you back to 1 again. And you're playing and the cards are you're going up, and you can either play the same number or the number higher each turn, and you're trying to get rid of all of your cards. And you'll have things where you'll have like 5 5s in your hand. You're just like, geez, how am I going to get rid of these? And sometimes it works out. You have a choice each time it comes around to your turn. You can either play 1 card, or you can draw 1 card, which unlike Uno, you don't just get to play again right after. So sometimes you draw a card, you're like, yay, I can play it. But I don't get to right now. It's got to keep on going around. Or you can quit the round, which can be very strategic to do if you're down to a few points or if you think it's going to gum things up for somebody else. So it's very simple, but there's enough things going on, and the push your luck element is just so fun too sometimes, because you can decide not to draw, and then you find out that the other person drew something that would have been super helpful, and or the next time it came around, if you had drawn and stayed in, you would have been able to play your next card or two and you would have won the round. If you win the round, you get to get rid of one of your tokens, which can be really helpful. So even if you feel like you're way out of it, you have a bunch of points, which are weirdly negative points in this game. But you can get rid of one of your big tokens and then you're back in it and other people catch up to you. So I like that there's lots of ebbs and flows. It's very simple, but it feels like it's really anybody's game no matter where you're at. So this one is probably your simplest example of a ladder climbing game, and it is very popular and very fun. Next up, we have Llama Drama. Yes, the first 2 games on this list are both llama themed. Fantastic. This game is my go-to gift for like upper elementary aged kids. They love this game. This is the game that I bring to all of our Girl Scout campouts, because all of those girls, whether they play a lot of games or not so much, love this game because it's just a little card game and it's simple but satisfying to play. To begin, you have 3 cards face down in front of you, and then you put 3 cards face up on top of them, and you have a hand of cards. You're playing through the deck, and what you do is you're trying to be the person to get rid of your whole hand first. And so you play through your hand, and then you play the cards on top of your face down cards. Then you don't get to look at those cards. At the end of the game, you have to flip them out one by one and hope that they play on top of whatever is out there. And if they do, you win the game. Kids love secrets and surprises, and so that aspect of the game is just such a selling point. Kids get so excited about it, and it's really simple, and there's like good luck, but some strategy as you go along to that bit, so it's just perfect for this age. And if this sounds sort of familiar, it's because there are a fair number of similar games out there. The most well-known is probably 3 Up, 3 Down, and this is better. Llama Drama is way better than that game. The theme is better, and it's less punitive. 3 Up, 3 Down doesn't have as many specialty cards, and it seems like, so in the game, if you can't play on the stack of cards out in the center, you have to collect all of them. And in 3 Up, 3 Down, it seems like when we play that and that happens to you, then you're kind of stuck for the rest of the game. Most of the time, you just have this big pile of cards. You can't play. You just end up drawing more and more cards, and it's very frustrating. And in Llama Drama, it seems like there's a path out. There's enough specialty cards and just how the game plays. Even if you collect a few cards, you say, oh, okay, well then I get to play them out and I might still win the game, which is just a much nicer space to be in, especially if you're a kid. And the specialty cards are so fun. They have a baby llama, a shy llama, a big llama. The ghost llama copies whatever card you play it on top, so it counts as an extra of that one. Magic llama is fabulous. It explodes the pile, makes it go away, and then you get to play again. And they have a regular version of the game and even a seasonal winter or holiday themed version. So this has just become one of our go-tos. It's really simple, easy, and kids have a great time playing this one. Next up, we have Reign of Dragoness, a game in which you are dealt 13 cards and you are trying to be the first person to play all of your hand of cards. And the trick is whatever pattern somebody sets in the middle is what you have to follow when you play. So if somebody plays a single card, you have to, in order to play, you have to play a single card. If they play a pair, you have to play a pair. And so sometimes you have things where you have this really beautiful long run, you have a four of a kind, and the people who are in the lead keep on ending up playing singles and doubles, and you think, oh, do I want to break up this beautiful long run I have in order to use the 12 to hopefully win this round so that I get to be in the lead and play something else? So you have some nice decisions that you're making in there, and there's really nice specialty cards. They have a knight, page, and squire, and the knight is anywhere between numbers 1 and 12, so you can decide where you want to fit it into your hand that's most advantageous to you. The page is 1 to 8, and the squire is 9 to 12. And then they also have a revive card, which is an egg, and you can play it on a round if they're playing doubles around and it gets to you and it's double 10s and you think, oh, I can't beat that, but I have this other pair of doubles that I'd like to get to play. You can play the revive card on top of it, and then you can immediately play, okay, if you have like a pair of ones that you were never going to get to play, you can play those out, and so it can be really helpful to have that. The dragons, the cards themselves, there are different clans, and so there are no ties in this game. Something always outweighs whatever else is out there. And so if somebody plays a number 2 card out there single and it's Loken clan, that's the lowest one. It only has 1 jewel on the side. If the next person has a 2 that has any more jewels than that, they can play it out on that person. So it's a nice element to the game. And really what I thoroughly enjoy about this game is I like to play this. I can play this with my husband. I can take it to an adult game night and have a fun time playing it with other adults. But I can also play it with my kids, and they can be very successful at the game and fully understand the strategy. So it's tricky to find games that are truly whole family card games that kids can enjoy through adults. And this is the one on the list that I would say most fully fits that niche. And so we have just been playing this a ton in our household because it works for such a wide audience. Next up, we have Scout. Scout has a pretty amazing novelty factor from the get-go because when you are dealt out your hand of cards, you are not allowed to reorganize them in any way. You just pick up your cards and you look at them, and whatever order they're in is what you're going to use as you play the game. But the cards are two-sided. So you first look at your cards, and then you can decide, you carefully rotate your hand, so you're looking at the bottom half, which has completely different numbers, and you're deciding which side you're going to play with for that round. And your goal is to get the most points, and generally the way in which you get the most points is when you're collecting other people's cards and trying to get rid of all of your own cards. So once you've decided which side you're playing on, you get to people play cards out into the center, and there's a ranking for value for different cards. So like a single card, if somebody plays a pair on top of that, they would beat that. And so they get to collect the single card, their pair is out there, and then if the next person has like a run of 3 or a higher pair, they can play it on top of those cards, collect those cards, and it goes on to the next person. But the trick is, if I want to play a pair of 4s out there, they better be right by each other in my hand. I can't pull one from over here and one from over here. So I would have to have them right by each other, and then I can play them out. But then by taking them out of my hand, I might have helped things out a bit, because if there was a 1, 2 on the side of the 4s and a 3 on the other side, I now have a nice little run of 3 that I'll be able to place out at some point. And the other really fun part of this game, and where it gets its name, is you can also choose to scout cards. So if, as people are placing cards out, if for one round I don't want to play out a card, even if I could, I can choose not to. If I say, ooh, I see they've played out this 8 out there, and that, if I pick that up, you have to give the player a token, they get a point, but you pick up that 8 and you can fill it into your hand. You can pick a spot wherever in your hand you want to place it, and it can help make you have a really nice run or set that you'll be able to use in the future. So this game is great. There's a lot of finessing of hand. It helps if you've played at least some card games. It's simple enough, but if you've played some card games, it's going to feel a little more intuitive. But this is one of those ones where if you say, oh, I just like nice little card games, 100% of people who say, oh, I like nice little card games, end up really enjoying Scout, because it is novel, pretty quick to learn, but you have lots of interesting decisions as you play. And finally, we have Red 7. This is a bit of a hidden gem of a game, I feel like, and it is definitely the most strategic of the games on this list. The goal of the game is to score the most points, and you score points if you're the last person standing at the end of the round. The game is sort of paint themed. You have cards that you play out in front of you are your palette, and in the center, the discard pile is your canvas. And so whatever the color of the card on the canvas or the discard pile is your rule. And whatever, to stay in the game, you have to be winning at whatever the current rule is. So the rule can be things like have the highest card, or the most cards below 4, or the most cards in a row, or the most cards of the same color, and it just depends on whatever is in the center. Your cards that you have in your hand can either be a card you play in your palette to hopefully win at whatever the current rule is, or you could use that card to change the rule and to be winning. On a turn, you have a choice of either playing one card down on your palette, one card down in the center to change the rule, or you can do both if you have to. But you often don't want to do that, because then you have fewer cards, and as play goes around, you have fewer and fewer options. So if you're playing too many cards, you're like, oh, I'm down to this. There's no way for me to win, or I have just this one thing, and the other person has 4 cards beside you, and they have a lot more flexibility in what they're doing. So that is just the base level version of the game. Once you add in for advanced rules, you can now, if you place a card down in your palette in front of you that is a higher number than the number of cards you have in your palette. So if you've only played 1 card down and you play a 4 down as your second card, that's greater than the value, so you get to draw another card from the draw pile, which is kind of the lifeblood of this game, where just, okay, now I have more things to work with. And then they have action rules where 1, 3, 5, and 7 do special things. 1, you can make an opponent have to discard a card, which is really helpful. 3, you get to draw another card. 5, you have to play another card down on your palette, which could be both good or bad, depending on how many cards you have left in your hand and what you're trying to do. And 7, you have to discard a card from your palette, but you can choose to discard it either to the top of the draw pile or on the canvas to change the rule. So if this sounds like kind of a lot, it is, in the best possible way. I love this game, and it's really exciting for me whenever I find somebody new that can hang with this game. Because for a lot of people, it's just a lot. Like the whole idea of there being the cards having dual purposes between the canvas and the palette can just not work for some people. It's hard. And then, so they're already like dual function cards, but then when you add in the advanced rules and the action rules, all of a sudden you've got 3 or 4 different levels of things going on, and new cards coming in and deciding how you're going to work with those. And so there's a lot going on. If you can find the right demographic to play this with, you're going to have an absolute blast. Just such an interesting, every time there's interesting decisions to make, you're never going to feel like, oh, I've just mastered this game. This is my strategy and this is what I do. It's different every time depending on what you get and how you're playing it out. And so I love this. Just find the right people and then you'll get to enjoy this game too. So that's it for my top 5 ladder climbing games, and hopefully you found one you're excited to check out. Thanks and see you next time from Game Like a Mother.